Hello, welcome to the Armoured Tea podcast, part of the Tea Academy over at armouredtea.com. We're going to talk about some tea facts today and whether they are true or false. I'm here with Tim. Hello, Tim.
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you. We've already been talking about all sorts of tea things today.
We have.
But we are going to go into the truth of the matter now.
The heart of the matter.
Can you let us know if these commonly thought facts are indeed facts?
I'll do my best.
Okay. I'm going to hit you up with the first one here. Herbal tea.
Herbal tea.
Is it a tea?
No, it's an infusion.
It's an infusion.
It's an infusion
Great.
or a tisane.
Yes, I've heard tisane. I've heard this word. What does that mean, an infusion?
So basically, if you can make a drink from it, from dried herbs, that would be an infusion. You're infusing herbs into water and making something that's drinkable.
Yes.
So that's your infusion. If it's tea, it has a very specific source, and that's it must come from the Camellia sinensis plant. If it's not Camellia sinensis, it's not tea.
It's not tea. So when people say a herbal tea,
Nope.
that's just a colloquial...
Herbal drink.
It's a herbal drink.
Herbal infusion.
Okay. We've heard it here first.
Yes.
So tea, does it always need to be served piping hot?
It depends on the tea. So generally, with black teas, you would always brew the tea with boiling water. Are you talking about serving it to drink or preparation?
I think serving to drink.
Serving to
You
drink.
want to drink it piping hot?
For me, yes.
Yes.
But then the number of times I'll have part drunk tea at my desk or at home because you get distracted doing something, so I'll drink it when it's not piping hot as well. But then I just love tea.
I hear you. Do you
But
think
generally, it should be hot.
it should be hot? Do you think that affects the flavour?
It does, and with some teas, quite interestingly, there's a phenomenon called creaming down. So as the tea cools, it starts to change characteristics, and it looks as though somebody's added milk to it. So it happens with a lot of Ceylon teas, I believe. I'm a tea lover. I'm not a tea expert, but
That's fine.
if you speak to one of our tea tasters, they'll explain the
Creaming down.
science behind it. Yeah.
I'm going to make a note of this.
You
I've
make a
never
note.
heard of that.
So I first witnessed it when I was in our tea room, and there were some teas which are always tasted black and that milk's not added. And I said, "Oh, why have you put milk in this?" We haven't. It's creamed down.
Wow.
So, yeah, probably best to drink it hot.
Drink it hot. Drink it hot and maintain the pureness of that tea. So would you say, this is one, so I'd say often synonymous with it maybe even being healthier. Would you say green tea has less caffeine, than a black tea?
Absolutely not.
Is it exactly the same?
Well, it would depend on the processing. It would depend on the time of year. It would depend on the origin. But they're both from the same plant. There's a difference in the processing. So you take the pluck of the leaf and you can make black tea, you can make oolong tea, white tea, green tea, but it's the same chemicals inside the same compounds inside the leaf, and caffeine is one of them.
So it's going to be exactly the same.
It can be higher than black tea, it can be lower than black tea, but yes, it's a myth that green tea is low or caffeine free.
Yes.
Yes.
Does it release any differently? That might be going too far.
To my knowledge, no.
No.
I can check that.
Yeah, I haven't creating new tea.
Yeah, challenging
new
me
tea
now.
myths here.
Yes.
So we talked about tea bags and a couple of other podcasts so far. Would you say a tea bag tea is less quality than a loose leaf tea?
Given that you can take the same yield from a garden and produce loose tea and tea bag tea from the same round of plucking, how can there be a difference? It's purely the size of the leaf,
Yes.
the leaf particle. So tea bags, they're meant to brew quickly in a confined space of a bag, the convenience. So they're cut into much smaller particles, which gives them a bigger surface area, so they colour and brew more quickly. So the convenience side is the only difference.
It's literally convenience.
You may get a slight difference. Some of the other manufacturers, you might get a papery taste from the tea bag, but generally, no, there's no difference.
I have not thought of that. How the tea bag itself can. What does Ahmed tea use?
I'd have to check what the actual paper is, but it's a paper that we've tested over the years and doesn't transfer that papery taste.
Yes, this makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
And then some places you get like a silk tea bag, don't you?
Yeah.
I wonder if that makes any...
It gives a little bit more room inside the bag. So what you see inside those, they're usually pyramid shaped.
Yes.
So that it's usually a longer leaf inside, so it looks like a loose leaf.
Okay, so you're getting the loose leaf experience.
Almost. Yes.
Maybe slightly more.
Yes.
Okay.
It's quite interesting. It goes back to the origins of the tea bag.
Yeah.
So there was a trader in the US called Thomas Sullivan, and he sent samples out in silk bags, samples of his tea, and people thought that was to brew them in. Oh. And that's how the whole tea bag
That's
came about.
amazing. Yes. So the colour of tea is very important. The darker the tea, is it stronger?
Not necessarily.
Uh-huh.
No. I mean, each tea has its own characteristics. So that depends on its origin, the elevation it's grown at, and many other factors. The soil will affect and whatever. So you can get a very, very strong tea from Assam, for example, which may not brew too darkly, but it will still deliver that strong flavour. You can get very, very light teas, which will be very, very strong. So it's the characteristics of the individual tea which affect.
Not the colour itself.
No.
So when you've got, the classic, you've got your tea bag, build this tea, you're swirling it around, push it against the side of the spoon.
And the myth that, the longer you brew it, the stronger it is.
Yeah.
But it makes no difference.
No.
If you want strong tea, use more tea.
Ah, there we go. That's the answer. More tea, obviously.
If you brew it for longer, it will go bitter, so it'll change the taste.
Yes.
But it's not stronger.
Is that tannins? Am I using the right word there?
There are tannins, but whether that's what changes the flavour, again, that's not my field of expertise.
Okay. I'll put that one on the back burner.
Yeah, put that off for one of the tea tasters. Challenge them.
Yes. I've got one more for you, which is quite tricky, I think, if you're using a conventional kettle that boils to 100, it goes all bubbly, that's when you use it. But should you always use that boiling water for all of your teas?
Some teas are quite delicate. So if you take some white teas, particularly the Chinese white teas, if you were to put boiling water onto those, you would scorch the leaf and it would actually compromise the flavour. So read the brewing instructions.
Yes, as we said.
Now, you may find that the brewing instructions say brew at 85 degrees.
Yeah.
Well, how do you measure 85 degrees?
Yes.
Let it cool down a bit.
So let it go to that boiling point.
Let it boil. Let it cool down a little bit.
And then add it in. Okay. Those are some good tea facts. Thank you very much.
Hopefully busted a few myths.
I think you've busted a few myths. Thank you so much. Thanks, Tim, for the tea busting, myth fact finding.
Truth about tea.
The truth about tea. Thank you for listening to the Ahmed Tea podcast. If you like this, you can listen to more episodes over at ahmedtea.com as part of the Tea Academy.